been fighting a long time, and we've all lost so very much. So many loved ones gone. You are not alone. There are pockets of resistance all around. We're at the brink. Above all, stay alive. You have no idea how important you are. If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.
No pity. My message to the Citizens Committee, who the biggest lawbreakers in the city. Full of corrupt politicians, red tape, roadblocks, criminals, dope spots. What about these road cops? Pity. My message to the Citizens Committee, who the biggest lawbreakers in the city. Full of corrupt politicians, red tape, roadblocks, criminals, dope spots. What about these road cops? They bust them upon the head with closed fist and hard kicks. A bunch of nightsticks trying to end his life quick. The kicks turn to stomps. They maced them and tased them. Dragged him out the car by his dreads, must have dazed him. Killing them but telling us he should have got a ticket. Traffic stop, drug stop, specify which is it. With every single witness saying he never resisted. Imaginary balls and ankle socks, must have missed it. Cardiac arrhythmia, dehydration. We even heard about positional asphyxiation. The bruises and the scarring, the suffering and pain. 30 minutes passed before the ambulance came. I find it all insane to beat and kill for sport. It took 5 months to get the autopsy report. The coroner, the cops, and the fucking state's attorney knew my cousin was dead before they put him on the gurney. No pity. My message to the Citizens Committee, who's the biggest lawbreakers in the city. Full of corrupt politicians, red tape, roadblocks, criminals, dope spots. What about these road cops? Pity. My message to the Citizens Committee, who's the biggest lawbreakers in the city. Full of corrupt politicians, red tape, roadblocks, criminals, dope spots. What about these road cops? Deceiving the public is something closer to impossible. Phony autopsy, but we know it wasn't logical. Highly improbable, undetermined manner. I like the way you doctored up the calls across the scanner. Your signal 13 sounded staged and unfinished. Your life was being threatened, not a single fucking blemish on any of the officers involved in the murder of Tyrone West. Man, that shit is unheard of. Let's go a step further. Examine all the evidence. 10 lying cops against the truth of all the residents. Cell phone footage, live interviews. I'm extra disappointed in the puppets from the news. Afraid to dig deeper, their information shoddy. 5 whole days until my family saw his body. No statement from the cops, but they spoke with their attorney. They know they killed my cousin when they put him on the gurney. No pity. My message to the Citizens Committee, who's the biggest lawbreakers in the city. Full of corrupt politicians, red tape, roadblocks, criminals, dope spots. What about these road cops? Pity. My message to the Citizens Committee, who's the biggest lawbreakers in the city. Full of corrupt politicians, red tape, roadblocks, criminals, dope spots. What about these road cops? They didn't notify my family, we saw it on the news. Tawanda saw a green Mercedes-Benz and got confused. They talking about a man dying in police restraint. She saw her tag numbers and it caused her to faint. They can't be my brother Ty, I was just with him. Not even 30 minutes before he became a victim. She had a funny feeling, kinda like a sixth sense. Her back started aching, her muscles got tense. She couldn't understand all the pain she was going through. Like they ripped the soul out of his body, he was showing you everything that happened to him, transmigration. He made you feel his pain before his final destination. They took away a father, cousin, grandson, and brother, uncle and nephew, but I feel sorry for my mother, cause she became his mom when my aunt passed away. We're stronger as a family, but she cries every day. No pity. My message to the Citizens Committee, who's the biggest lawbreakers in the city. Full of corrupt politicians, red tape, roadblocks, criminals, dope spots. What about these road cops? Throw up your hands like you're under arrest. Hell nah. Throw up your fists like you want protest. Hell yeah. Throw up your hands like you're under arrest. Hell nah. Throw up your fists like you want protest. Hell yeah.
We've been fighting a long time, and we've all lost so very much. So many loved ones gone. You are not alone. There are pockets of resistance all around. We're at the brink. Above all, stay alive. You have no idea how important you are. If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.
That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beast. That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beast.
Mic check, mic check. This is West Wednesday, number 407. We are gathering here for justice for all victims of police brutality and justice for Tyrone West. Mic check.
Mic check.
A mic check. So sorry for the dilemma, but Facebook is playing with me as usual. I think I'm sharing it now because at first it wouldn't even allow me to hit the share button from my page. But anyway, Like my brother Ben just said, this is week 407, and that's a long time to be fighting for accountability for anybody or anything. But it's the right thing to do, and we don't just fight for my brother Tyrone West. We fight for all the victims of police brutality and or murder. But it's just sad when you know things have changed. And I look at the video that we just played, and if you look at it, it just looks so ancient. But that was a video that my cousin had literally made right after my brother got murdered. He made that video, and in that video, he talked about all the stuff that my family was going through, and he even mentioned the medical examiner's office and how they played games with us and everything. And even when we closed out, I had dedicated and made a song for my brother, and I even back then mentioned the medical examiner's office and my song that I dedicated to my brother. But nevertheless, the reason why I decided not to have any special guests on today because you know even though I don't get joy in bringing different guests to our platform, but it's still powerful. But today I elected not, and we as a coalition group elected not to do that for the simple fact that we're trying to make our main focus right now on reopening my brother's case right now while it's at the forefront. And reopening my brother's case is reopening all the other cases as well. So you know that Dr. Fowler played a crucial role as to why those killer cops got away with bloody murder. And it's just horrible that as horrible or horrific as my brother's brutal murder was, the cover up is far worse. Like you had a man that was actually beat to death in broad daylight, y'all. Like this didn't happen in an alley. This didn't happen when it was real dark outside and people couldn't make out what was happening. They had the nerve, the audacity, like they had the nerve to beat my brother and murder him. Like murder him, take his life in broad daylight. And the interesting part and the horrible part that makes it worse, people came out. Witnesses came out with cell phone video footage and whatnot and was recording them, and they still felt comfortable. The first killer cop at my brother's car was Killer Ruiz. Killer Ruiz and Killer David Chapman from Northeast Police District, who, by the way, Ruiz, interestingly enough, is now promoted to sergeant. Like, are you freaking kidding me? And even Chapman got a promotion, and both of them got raises and everything. So it's like the more they brutalize and murder us, they get promotions. They don't even get fired. That's the lamest thing you could do is actually just fire them, and they get to walk away and go flip burgers or go onto another career. But they don't even fire them. They actually give them rewards for actually murdering us. This is real. Like I'm traumatized forever. Like I'm like when I say that my mindset is just horrible right now because at the end of the day, I still have to work through this. I still have to go to work. I still have to be a mother, be strong for my children. So it's a lot of stuff that I do in privacy because I don't want my children affected by the trauma. I try to keep pushing, but children even are affected by what they see their parents go through, no matter what. If you have the biggest smile on your face or whatever, they know when something's wrong. Just like I know when something's wrong with them. But I said all this to say right now we are begging everybody to come together as a team to push. We need to get Frost involved. And if Frost is not going to do my family right by reopening this case and letting us present evidence that they never paid attention to. All they did, it was a basic regurgitation of what the killer cop said, not nothing about what the witnesses said. And let's be clear, it was over 32 witnesses that saw one unarmed man get brutally murdered. Just imagine if you were in your neighborhood this time of year or in the summer, but it's nice and bright outside, and you and your family may just be chilling on the front and things like that, or you may be in your own home relaxing, and then you hear the screams, the cries of a man getting tortured in freaking broad daylight. And that's enough for you to say, you know what, I'm gonna get off my couch. Let me see what the hell's going on. And you go out there and you see people that's supposed to be serving and protecting, and they are the killers. Like, are you freaking kidding me? And then you try to say something and they tell you Ruiz. And that's his favorite quote. He always tells somebody, get the F back in the house. And you notice that every West Wednesday, we always play a video of him and the victims that he tormented and that survived his trauma. But I elected not to even see his face right now. I want to see his face behind a damn cell block. I want to see David Lewis behind a damn cell block. I want to see each and every last killer behind a damn cell block. It's too traumatized. So when I thought about when George Floyd, when anybody gets murdered, so first of all, let's be clear. When I saw Eric Gardner get choked out on video, a year after my brother was murdered, and I heard him screaming, I can't breathe. And because my brother, I knew that my brother couldn't breathe when he died, that opened up a can of worms so bad, and it forced me and my family to immediately, we didn't waste no time. We didn't have to think about it. We got our little pennies up and we went and we stood in solidarity with Aunt Gardner's family off the top. People at our own, like so-called political leaders and things like that, or people that had clout and that had people follow, they wouldn't even come to my family. They didn't never come to a West Wednesday. They literally, you had Pastor Jamal Bryan, who had a big church and everything, people following him and things of that nature. Did he come support West Wednesday? Hell no. And he wondered why, when it was years later, when he came out there and boom ranked him off the set. Like, are you freaking kidding me? Don't try to do nothing just because, oh, it seemed cool at the time on the Freddie Gray anniversary. Now you want to come support. We tried to make what happened to my brother not happen to Freddie Gray. That's why we were out there, y'all. So I want y'all to be clear. Like, enough is enough. I know we do this, but this is not in vain. I don't get no joy of reliving this nightmare week after week after week, day after day, literally trying to find out what the hell happened to my brother and why these killer cops are not behind some blocks. And we know, let's be clear, we know what happened to my brother, but we want the world to know what happened to my damn brother. And we don't want what happened to my brother to happen to anybody else, brother, sister, cousin, or friend. And while I'm right here today, I also want to flip real quick. I want to give Gina Bess a big hug. That's my warrior queen sister. And right now she's celebrating her grandbaby's sixth birthday. And it said his damn mother should be here celebrating with them. She should be here. India should be here with her baby son, seeing him get to 6 years old, but instead she's in heaven somewhere. Like, are you kidding me? Like, y'all don't know, when you do murder or when you almost kill somebody, that is the ultimate. But murder is the ultimate. At least, even though, and none of them ain't good, because even if you almost kill somebody, they screwed up forever. But in my brother case, I wish that it wouldn't have never got that far. That they would, like, he just would have just been a bad victim, and we could have got him counseling, but he would have been okay. We as a family, we could still see him. But for him to be murdered, for that to be the final say, for them animals to take my brother and have the final say, to take a father away from his beautiful children. They can't never celebrate Father's Day with him, birthdays, little milestones in their life. My daughter, who just got baptized, wanted her uncle to be there. And the first person, when she got dipped underwater as an adult, the first person, she started crying really bad after I took off. And I'm like, you okay? She's like, I'm just keep thinking about my Uncle Tyrone. This is reality that people don't know anything about. Like, this is real. But until we get these killer cops and cell blocks, nothing's going to change. And I give a big shout out to Amy Dillard that made that powerful point. And she too was a part of the civilian review board. But the crazy part, let's think about Amy, who's sitting there, and they are not putting all the facts out. They're putting a regurgitation, y'all, of what the killer cops say. How fair and prompt in tune could that be? That's not fair. That's why she's like, oh, hell no, I need to speak out now because it's only right. I'm sorry I didn't speak out then and do the humane thing because I had mixed emotions on it, but I'm speaking up now. And that's okay with me because one thing and for certain, and two things for sure, we all make mistakes. But as long as you right those wrongs, it's okay. It's okay. But it's just sad that we're in times like this. Why couldn't they take my family word from for gold to say that we know that the family's not lying like, this man was body was hid literally for 5 days. The funeral home couldn't even go and get the body. Why couldn't the funeral home be like, you know what? Let me write a report because this is some weird stuff going on. The family paid us for a service. His daughter paid for the whole entire funeral, cold cash, right? We ain't had no payment plan. She paid for everything. So why the hell did we have to wait 5 days just to see our loved one? Why couldn't we get that call when he got to Good Sam's Hospital? Just to go have our final moments because they were covering up. So my point is, why do you take a family through hell, bring them back, keep taking them to hell, bringing us back, rocking us to sleep, bringing us back? I'm tired of it. I'm tired, y'all. I'm tired, y'all. And I feel like if this time they don't do nothing right, I don't know how much longer I can stand strong to this shit. I don't know. It's mentally screwing me up. It is like strong people get tired, and I'm at my tired breaking point. And I can tell you guys this: I'm at my breaking point with it. I really am because I literally went in my own account, 50 grand, y'all. It's hard to pull up $50 nowadays. 50 grand on my own money because I'm like, you know what? They lied on my brother. Shame on them. After they murdered him, you gonna lie and make it seem like he had a bad heart, that he had drugs in his system. Oh, hell no. Shame on y'all. And that is why I felt compelled. I said, if I had to go rob banks, do what I had to do, you was going to have the last word. My brother, Tyrone West. And I did it by the grace of God. Thank God I had to rob no bank. Thank God it was in my account. It was readily available to me, but it wiped me out. It wiped me out. I ain't going to lie. It wiped me out. But I was like, it was well worth the wipe. But I said all this to say, thank goodness that I never gave up. But at this time, I don't even trust this system. Is Frost going to do my family right? Are we really going to get my brother's case reopened? I done sat down with the state's attorney's office, y'all. I was deprived to sit down with my family. When we met with Marilyn Mosey, I thought it was going to be me, my Aunt Diane, who I look at as my mom. I thought it was going to be, several of my family members there, even though we got a family, but I thought at least it was going to be the main people that are out there at West Swansea supporting things like that. And I was told I couldn't go bring anyone in there but myself. I was told that the only person that could come in there was Ron Dorsey. And then at the end of the day, it was a bamboozle because Ron Dorsey was waiting down on the first floor. I went up on the third floor and I went looking for Ron Dorsey. And I had never met Ron Dorsey in person, but he was the one to set up. He said, I'll be the mediator. He called for this meeting. And that was a night. And I felt like I'm feeling that, oh, it's hopeful. I got a chance. Now maybe they're going to reopen my brother's case because I got all this new evidence. So I felt like sitting down with Marilyn Mosey, giving her the new evidence, and the evidence that I gave her was so profound. Like, I don't know why I still sitting on her desk collecting dust, like literally out the killers. I had to wait till we got to the point, y'all, of litigation, even though we wanted criminal charges. But when you had Greg Bernstein at the time and said, oh no, your brother died from a bad heart. He didn't get murdered. So if he would have got murdered, then I could look at this differently. But because the medical examiner's office said that he had a bad heart and, he just died. So, and they didn't see anything to, that criminal charge. So the officers act within reason. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. But I said all to say, so we went through the civil litigation and I got the best news of my life that for one, they lied and they said, number one, the struggle started with Mr. West. Mr. West, get this, everything was going fine, but they noticed a bulge of drugs, a large ball of drugs in Mr. West's socks as he sat down on the curb and his pants leg pulled up. First of all, the devil is a liar. You can't even lie right. For one, my brother had on shorts that came to his knees, and he had on ankle socks that literally where your ankle is showing, right? The low cut tennis shoes and the ankle socks. So He didn't even have no type of socks on to put nothing for you to see a bulge in. But then you lie, and then Ruiz and Chapman made up this big old lie. And mind you, Ruiz is a part of the Gun Trace Task Force, the Elite Gun Trace Task Force that goes around setting folks up, robbing them, raping them, killing them, doing all type of heinous acts under the color of blue. But let's be clear, they lied. But when that crucial information came out in the litigation piece, and I read that, oh my God, out the killer's mouth, when the White Patters office went to go and get the alleged so-called drugs, none were never tested, none were never submitted. And out the killer Ruiz's mouth and out Chapman's mouth, when they were asked, well, why did you turn in the drugs? Where did you see the drugs from? Ruiz goes and says, oh, I didn't never see any drugs. I heard about it on the news. And Chapman said, oh, I didn't never see any either. I thought, thought somebody said he tossed something. Like, really? So you killed an unarmed man for no reason. But my thing is, even if he would have had drugs with him, you're not the judge, jury, and the executioner. But the simple fact that he had no drugs on him, you killed him for what? You did all that for what? And the fact that 24 hours, guys, listen to me, Darrell Harris was in that same neighborhood. And guess who almost killed Darrell Harris? Ruiz, Chapman, and Omar. They literally almost killed this man. The only thing that saved Darrell Harris' life was the fact that he said, you know what? Let me pick up this phone. Let me call 911. Let me get help because I don't feel safe right now. Those statements that he yelled in the video that we normally play, that was real live footage of Darrell Harris saying, I don't feel safe right now. What are you doing? He didn't feel safe. So him and his passenger called 911 before Ruiz started, because Ruiz was going to his thing and he was getting ready to tase him too. He wound up tasing my brother Tyrone West in his neck 4 times. Wow. If that was enough, first of all, Chapman pulled my brother out by his long, beautiful dreadlocks, and then Ruiz tased him 4 times in his neck. My brother screaming. Now you got all these voltages of electricity running through your body. You're dying. If that ain't enough for suffering, then what did Killer Chapman do? He took 2 canisters, y'all, of some type of chemicals and sprayed in my brother's eye. So much got in his eyes. That's the only reason why a Signal 13 was called. That's why all the other 15 to 20 maniacs showed up. That's why Killer David Lewis showed up. But they didn't show up to get an unarmed man help or to de-escalate the problem. No, they wanted, and it was a sport. Killing one unarmed man, it was a sport to them. Oh yeah, when they got to the scene, now my brother's pepper spray, tase, he's screaming, help, help. Trayvon Martin, help, in broad daylight. I feel sorry for the Kentmore Causeway witnesses that said what they saw and saw what they said. They told it. They had to see a man getting murdered, tortured in their video footage. Their cell phones were collected the next day as Commissioner Batts sat on the porch and watched all the officers tap on everybody's door. So when I think about Detective Suter, when they said the whole block was on siege, no, that wasn't the first time a whole block was on siege for a cover-up to happen. No, that happened July the 18th, 2013, because they did Kentmore Causeway the exact same way. They didn't let people come in or out. They harassed all the witnesses, the neighbor. They even discredited 32 witnesses down to like a dozen. They're like, oh, well, you how could you say you were behind a tree? Why would you lie? You had 32 witnesses, but I guarantee you, if Mr. West was the killer, all 32 statements would have been credible. But because Mr. West was an innocent man, y'all, wrong place, wrong time, he was murdered by law enforcement officers. So now witnesses don't know what their lying eyes are seeing. Witnesses don't know. You get what I'm saying? So I said all that to say there's still to this day is video footage surfacing out there. We don't know if we ever going to get it. We don't know if the police collected it. But then I heard it was a young man that lived in that community that I don't know what happened immediately. And he was the one that had raw footage from beginning to end. He disappeared, y'all. Disappeared. They said he moved. Neighbors said he was living there for like a few years. And as soon as the police came around the next week, this young brother moved. I don't know what happened. I don't know if he got killed. I don't know if they promised him. I don't know. But I said all to say, if you're out there and you're watching this, I want you guys to share this. Please share this. And if you have any video for this, please send it. Any photos, anything, please, because we need your help right now. This time that this cover up is completely exposed. And the crazy part, it did not happen until David Fowler got on and tried to testify in George Floyd case and say the same exact thing. The only difference, he changed my brother name. It wasn't George Floyd. I mean, I'm sorry, it wasn't Tyrone West, it was George Floyd. That's the only difference. And he blamed everything but Derek Chauvin's knee and his neck. He blamed carbon monoxide. He blamed all type of stuff. Drugs in the system, big old heart, but not the small heart as everybody's saying of Derek that brutally murdered him. And this is something that we need to be doing right now. So what we're going to do, and I'm posing to you guys, is please, we need to blow up Frost email. I want you to write letters, send emails nonstop, and say enough is enough. I want y'all to keep on writing, blowing it up, because enough is enough. And next week, we're going to tell you guys, we're going to be outside in the street. We're going to be safely social distancing. But what we're going to do now is, because we don't want to lose our momentum online and we still want to be safe because we're in a pandemic. So what we're going to do now is we're going to be online one week, offline the next week, on, off, until we get accountability. Because y'all know before the pandemic, we didn't give a damn. I remember being outside, it was raining sideways. We didn't care about no weather because guess what? At the end of the day, when they murder us, they don't give a damn about the weather. But on my list, before I let our West Wansley family, our coalition family speak or whatever, and put their input and check in with Marcellus to see if anybody made
It's
any
7
comments.
o'clock.
I want to give y'all a little report. I don't know if you guys know or been watching the news, but it was really said that on this Monday, and I made sure I showed it because I'm listening as I'm getting dressed and I'm getting ready for work. I'm listening to foolishness, and I'm like, 6 simple ways to basically, let me put it down and make sure. Okay, it's called Daily Police Encounters. Six common sense ways to make sure that you don't die while you basically kill, in layman terms, by the police. And one of the rules were respect the police. That was number one. Number two, don't commit crimes. Number three, don't fight or resist the police. And number four, get the officer's name and badge number. And number five, report it. First of all, and let's be real crystal clear. Let's be clear. The person that gave this report, now but I'm not surprised because Fox 45 is always caught up in some foolishness. They always do black people dirty. It's just horrible, but it is what it is. That's the media for you. But nevertheless, it was a retired racist sheriff named Murray. His name was, I'm sorry, Murray Richards. Murray Richards from West Virginia. And he had the nerve to say that Black Lives Matters got black folks killed more than anything. And then the part that really made my stomach flip over and made me throw up in my mouth was when he said, just look at when Michael Brown was killed. If you look at any of these crimes and things like that, it's because they were committing a crime. First of all, you piece of trash, you racist piece of you know what. Let's be crystal clear. These killer cops are not the judge, jury, and the executioner. Let's be clear about that. Secondarily, when they're beating you up and pulling you, they're telling you not to resist while they're putting bullets in your body, while they're kicking, stomping, pepper spraying you, and your body is naturally having a natural reaction. Your hands are being tossed because they're kicking your hands up in the air. Your body just reflected. And the first thing they're yelling while they beat your head to the damn pavement, don't resist. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? So I'm over it. But this type of foolishness is what it just happens. Just like, and you wonder why he's retired, but just think about all the racist people that are still working, that got this mindset that you know what, and then he had the nerve to call. He was talking about black folks. That's why I said he was talking about us because he was like, yeah, because I'm talking about men, he's talking about black folks. And then he said, and then what I don't like is when the when certain commissioners around the world get up in front of the mob, they start bad mouthing the cops. Like, are you like? I'm like, yo, are you kidding? So I recorded it, and thank God you guys saw it and y'all are sharing. I think it got shared like at least up to a dozen times off of my page, and people are still sharing it. But that was real. That happened on Monday, y'all. This ain't happened in 1985 or 1996. This happened this week, y'all. 2021. This is crazy. And then I also wanted to give you what I thought was very interesting. Y'all remember our old commissioner, Kevin Davis. Now he is working in Fairfax County. Like, are you freaking kidding me? He is now the new chief of Fairfax County. And the fact that they even let him work for Baltimore City, like, are you freaking kidding me? He had a track record, y'all, of police brutality. Like, he actually kidnapped somebody that was dating his daughter, and we threw him under the bus the first day they swore him in. We like, you gonna bring this piece of trash here, and he has a record already? But that's what they do. So it was somebody that was dating his daughter, or somebody he didn't approve of. He broke somebody's kneecaps. He just all type of fools, kidnapped them, and all type did all type of fools, and they brought him in here. And the only reason why he's allegedly got fired here because of the crime and all this foolishness. But I'm just like over the Doug and Pony show. But we need to right now, while this momentum is warm and piping hot, we need to blow it completely up because it's either now or never. And we always, from day one, is screaming, cell blocks for killer cops. Like, I don't say it because it sounds cute. I say it because it means something. Until we hold these killer cops in the cell blocks and prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law and get a conviction, like, nothing's going to change. How many times do we have to read off week after week? And Uncle Bill, sadly, reads off the different names. Every week is somebody's name on that list. And then even with the community violence, where our brother Brian reads off, every day community violence is happening. And it's just sad, like somebody was coming here visiting from out of town and they were actually murdered. But then I think about the people that live in our city that it's like, this the purge going on. You get murdered, kids, besides women, and I never see the mayor, nobody march for them. But then I see our mayor, and then y'all know I don't got no filter, I don't kiss nobody, but right is right and wrong is wrong. I see our mayor out there walking around supporting that family. Where was our mayor when my goddamn cousin got killed on a goddamn West Wednesday? Let's be clear, like, it ain't like, I mean, come on now, you could have came out and supported my family. He got killed on a West Wednesday, y'all. I didn't see no mayor. I didn't see no politician. I didn't see anybody. I saw a ceasefire, though. I saw my sister Erica go down to that horrible neighborhood where my cousin was murdered. But now my family just freaking sat back quiet, no answers, nothing. My cousin murdered, y'all. Murdered. Cold blood, Tavon Anderson. Murdered. One of the men in my family that was out there, one of the men that you guys met, one of the men that spoke up at City Hall, one of the men that always rode around, checked on me, even when you didn't see his body standing up next to me. Gone, murdered in his car. 12/26, January the 20th, 2021, this year. And they ain't told my family nothing. We just got set back. I'm tired of setting back. I'm about to go crazy, y'all. Enough is enough. Y'all not gonna keep doing stuff to us and thinking we just going, oh, we're gonna protest, oh, we're gonna throw. It's getting out, it's beyond out of hand. But I'm asking y'all, look, I'm at the breaking point, y'all. I'm telling y'all, I'm at the breaking point. But we can do something together collectively, safely, the right way. And that's just hold people accountable. I'm not asking somebody to break the law, I ain't asking somebody to lie, I ain't asking somebody to do none of that. I'm asking you to give us real accountability because let's be clear, there is no justice. It's just us trying to hold folks accountable because justice looks like everybody can go out in the street and feel safe and happy. Justice looks like every community is safe, down the hill, up the hill, round the corner, down the corner, wherever. That's justice, but it ain't no justice. It's just us trying to stay safe and live and survive out here. And nobody give a damn about our life, but anybody get killed anywhere, any type of group. We hear about, oh, it's a hate crime when, Chinese people get killed, or any race besides our Korean people. I'm sorry, Korean people get killed. It's oh they hate crime. We get killed all the time because of color of our skin. Nobody want to talk about that. I'm seeing sisters and brothers and mothers and everybody, babies, little kids getting gunned down, shot up. Where the man, the politicians at? They ain't out there going to support them family members. Ain't nobody knock on my door. We have to reach out to people. Reach out to have my cousin buried. And thank God, and I give him homage and I give him props because he did return my call and he did make sure the right people donated towards my cousin funeral. My whole point, we shouldn't have been had to bury my cousin. Why you ain't catch the killer yet? Why is there so many killers in my community and we don't know who it is? And the first time somebody get murdered, we always think the crazy way that we're doing it to each other. That every crime that is committed in the Black community, oh, we the ones doing it. Wake up, my people. Wake up. Because I'm woke. And I don't like what I see. This is the side, and I'm going to end on this note. This is a side you don't want to be in because when I used to hear people on this side, it make you think that they're crazy and going nuts. Because you're like, oh, damn, they so traumatized. Even if they sweet people, you're like, oh, they going nuts. Let's be clear, sweet. I don't drink. I don't get high. I don't use drugs. I don't do anything. I have a sane mind. Like, I'm telling you, the stuff, you couldn't make this stuff up. I have documented how you do an autopsy and hide somebody's body for 5 days. How you do an autopsy report and it's done, completed on the 19th, but you wait to December something to give my family some foolishness. How do we have to go to all the trauma of getting our loved one unearthed just so that he can have the final say so? And let's be clear, 3 different people came to the conclusion that my brother Tyrone West died from positional asphyxia. Let's be crystal clear. Number 1, Dr. Mangan. Dr. Mangan. He was a paraprofessional for my legal team. Okay? Dr. Mangan was the first one to say, hey, looking at Mr. West's tissue sample, oh, he was murdered. Positional asphyxia. Okay? No bad heart, no dehydration, no his heart wasn't too big. No, he was perfectly fine and in good health. Okay? Number 2, a reporter that leaked out before they came out with that bull crap in December to tell my family, damn near 8 years ago, that, oh, he died from being dehydrated, cardiac arrhythmia, due to a bad heart. Like, are you freaking kidding me? The same thing they did to Antoine Black. Same game, different name. But enough is enough. And we ain't going for it. But then Dr. Shaker, who I unearthed my brother, did his report that said my brother was murdered. Positional asphyxia. So let's be clear, 3 different reliable sources. They don't know each other from a can of paper, but they came back that my brother was murdered. And now what I'm asking you guys to do, while they're pretending like they looking at something, let's make them really look at it. Let's make them earn their goddamn paycheck. Mic check.
Mic check. Mic check. So we have a couple comments on Facebook. Bill said the 15 or 16 million people who protested and rebelled this past summer against police terror, perhaps the biggest mass movement in U.S. history, have had a major impact. Now the in-custody deaths, while Fowler was chief medical examiner, will be reviewed, but we still got to push hard. They have to accept evidence that wasn't originally considered when they basically just listened to the cops' narrative. Hillary also says to send input to the Attorney General's office about their audit of the in-custody deaths reported on by the medical examiner's office under the supervision of Dr. Fowler. Write to OCME audit at oag.state.md.us or the Office of the Attorney General, 200 St. Paul Place, Baltimore, Maryland, 21202. And then Gretchen says the Maryland Attorney General's office has said that they will consider public comments as part of a review of in-custody death investigations conducted by the office of Dr. David Fowler. the longtime chief medical examiner of Maryland. Since Tyrone's death was one of those investigated, we are asking that West Wednesday supporters write to the AG's office to request that they push for his case to be reopened, fully investigated, including accessing and reviewing all updated information and reports, and for them to meet with Tawanda Jones. And she posts the same address. Johnny Action Seat is on. He says justice for Tyrone West. And he also said, I wasn't resisting. I was saving someone's life. I was doing everything I could do to comply. They're lawless. They do whatever they want to. Then they overcharge you, hoping you take a plea. Mic check.
Can you repeat? Can you
Can I
repeat
say
the?
something real quick?
Yes.
So I want to say something about Johnny Action Seat. And you remember he was our powerful guest on here. And my heart goes out to you. I love you, my brother. But just imagine going into the hospital with your aunt who basically has a disability and you are attacked. Like, are you kidding me? And just like he made a great point when he said they make up all these charges just to make sure something sticks. And any attorney can tell you this. You think I'm lying? Call any attorney and say, hey, I just want some legal advice. Do cops make up a bunch of charges to make something stick? I guarantee you, each and every last one I'm going to say yeah. And I want to give a shout out to Uncle Bill for his comment. I want to give a shout out to Gretchen for her comment, and definitely shout out and make sure you guys are not just watching us. Please, the information that my brother just told you as he read in the comments, please make sure you write. Send an email. If you don't even feel like writing a letter and dropping it in the mailbox, but that would be great. Because I want to blow them up from every which way and every which angle. And the next thing I'm going to do, I want to get if anybody has, it just popped in my mind, if anybody has the phone number to Mr. Frost's office, please give me the number. We can start blowing their phone up. Blow their phone up, their email up, blow it up. Every time I want him to speak tongues to hearing Tyrone West's name. Mic check.
Mic check. Bill, you said you wanted me to repeat something?
Yeah, if you could repeat that email address and the snail mail address once more slowly, so people who would like to send something to the Attorney General, that'd be good for them to have it.
Okay. Please write to OCMEAUDIT@oag.state.md.us. That is the email address of the Attorney General. And then you can also send written letters to the Office of the Attorney General, 200 Saint St. Paul, Paul, Place, Place, Baltimore, Baltimore, MD 21202. Mic check.
Mic check. And thank you, Marcellus, for the excellent job every week that you did by reading our comments and bringing a life to us, Wednesday. We definitely appreciate you. Mic check.
Mic check.
So I want to take this moment to ask just our family members of our coalition, what ways do you think people can help? Like, what is your input on that?
Do you mean those of us on the program or people who are?
I'm talking to us in the West Coalition. That's on now.
Yeah, I want to point out, before I answer your question, that the law professor, Amy Dillard, she's the one that was on that independent review panel 7 years ago, and the police set that up after them and the city state's attorney, Bernstein, after they said these cops were not going to be prosecuted. They wanted some cover So they set up a so-called independent review panel. She was one of the 7 people on it. And she says, looking back on that experience from today's vantage point, especially after having watched the trial of Chauvin, who killed George Floyd, she says that the panel she was on 7 years ago, and I'm quoting now, she said it merely gave cover to the police department and the state's attorney at that time. It was set up. It was set up to perpetuate the lie that Tyrone died because of some health condition and didn't die because of the vicious police violent attack on him. And so that's what we have to be careful about now. Because of the tremendous mass movement this past summer, Brian Frosh, the Maryland State Attorney General, is now under pressure to review the cases that the cases that were decided of in-custody deaths during the time that Fowler was the chief of the medical examiner's office. As we all know, Fowler is the one who went out and lied during the trial of Chauvin and said that George Floyd died because of health problems and exhaust, not because of the knee on his neck for 9.5 minutes. So that mass movement caused Dr. Mitchell, who used to be the chief medical examiner in Washington and is now the head of the pathology department at the Howard University Medical School, it caused him to create a letter to the Attorney General in Maryland and the National Attorney General and get over 400 other doctors to sign it, saying that Fowler's testimony in the Chauvin trial was so far out of medical science that all the cases of in-custody deaths while he was head of the medical examiner's office in Maryland need to be re-examined. And as a result of that, I'm sure that he was influenced by the mass movement and he took a good stand. And because of that, Brian Frosh's office and the governor now say they're going to review the cases, but they've clarified they're going to review the cases but not investigate the cases. So if all they're going to do is the same thing that happened 7 years ago when Amy Dillard said that panel gave cover to the racist decisions of the police department and the city state's attorney, if all they're going to do today is the same thing, to give cover to those racist decisions made by the medical examiner's office, unscientific, incorrect, and racist, then they're going to look only at the evidence and materials that already exist at the medical examiner's office, which express, for the most part, the police narrative of what happened, and very little, if anything, will change. And that's why at this moment, we have to take what's occurred, the fact that there's going to be this review, and we got to push very hard to say they have to investigate, they have to look at new evidence, and there's lots of evidence. Tawanda mentioned some of it, the additional autopsy. There's a lot of other evidence. There's witness testimony, which is sworn witness testimony. That has to be considered too. And I'll point out that the Attorney General's office, on May the 7th, they put out a press release from Frosh. And he said, anyone's welcome to comment and send materials, but it has to be in by June the 7th. And he used the word materials. Now, is he talking about additional evidence to send to some email address, to not get any response, to not know how it's going to be used, to not know the process? No, they have to meet with Tawanda and other family members, clarify the process, and explain how they're going to look at evidence which was overlooked under Fowler, who was a racist who trained in medical pathology in South Africa during apartheid when the official role of the police was to kill freedom fighters. Mm-hmm. And he's the guy responsible for this horrible situation. Well, he's one of the people responsible for this horrible situation in making it difficult to win accountability in the violent police police inflicted death of Tyrone West and others. So I apologize, Tawanda. I forgot your original question, but
no, that was so right there. That was real helpful because those were great points when I was saying what my question was pretty much. What do you think people can do to contribute? And you just put it on like that was really profound stuff that you were saying, and I think those were great points down to like when you said that the doctor, had it not been for that doctor getting these other doctors because he could clearly see that they don't listen to the families that go through this. It's just saying we got over 450 billion families just saying, hey, my loved one was murdered, but they not listening to us. But that was a real power move when he said, you know what, let me get all these doctors. And I'm praying for him because the way they be killing doctors and everybody, I'm praying for him. I don't want to hear nothing about if he dropped dead in the next year that he died from COVID-19 or some foolishness. I don't want to hear none of that. I give him kudos and props. I would love to meet him and thank him to his face for doing that powerful thing that he did.
Do you,
Mic check.
Mike check. Do you want people to go ahead with the list for today?
Yes, please, please. And so, as we read these sad lists, I want you to keep in mind that these could be your loved ones or one of your friends. I mean, I feel sorry and I don't even know, and the saddest part is when we hear the list from Baltimore, because so many people go by different names and sometimes you don't know, quote unquote, their government name. You could be hearing their government name and not knowing that that's somebody you went to school with, that's somebody you grew up with, or that was one of your old neighbors. Like this world, like everybody knows somebody. Like it's just sad, everybody knows somebody. So when you hear these names tonight, and even if it's off Uncle Bill's list, you know, just keep in mind that these are somebody's family. These are precious lives that were stolen. These people didn't die from, natural causes and things like that. And we even have that, like me personally, I have a time with dealing with death, regardless. But at the same time, when someone is murdered, like, oh my God, like, no, like, and speaking before we read this list, I just want to let everybody know, please keep our sister Paula Muhammad family up, keep her husband and her beautiful children in your prayers, y'all. This weekend, unfortunately, it saddens me that we're going to be having a funeral service and we're going to be having a celebration of life, y'all. A celebration of life for our queen. Uncle Bill, do you have the address that I provided yesterday? Because I think it's at St. Paul. I don't want to give the
Give me
wrong.
1 minute and I'll get it.
Yeah, I think it's at the Cultural Arts Center. It's downtown, and it's where my brother Wayno used to do a lot of events. But the celebration of life is going to be, I think it's from like 4 to 8. But if you guys could come through, show your love, like and support, because guess what? Our Queen Paula always showed us love and still shows. When I think of Paula, all I think of is love. Just here, I never saw her with a frown on her face. She had the most beautiful smile in the world, like that. Like you could just feel it. It was so real. It was so organic. She was a mother, and still her husband is searching for why his queen is not here in the physical. Like they need answers. Like it don't just stop after Saturday after we, pay our respects. Ramsey and her children deserve their whole entire family. We deserve answers because I wanted to know what happened to our queen. Like people don't just drop dead. Like people don't just drop dead. I'm convinced of that. I know stuff happening, something could be going on, and you like, not know something in your body is, but you still get signs of something. You don't just, oh, I'm talking to you now, and then as soon as I get off the West Ramsey, somebody come in my house and find me dead. Like, no, no, I'm not buying it. And if that's the case, do a thorough investigation and let the truth lead us where it may. So I'm just asking everybody, like, if you can, at least show, if you know my brother Ramsey, send them love through an email, still share, even though they have a GoFundMe, and thank God they got the money up to, for the burial and the funeral and things like that. They still need money because they're trying to get a good attorney to find them answers. They're trying to get this thing investigated, y'all. And nothing ain't free. So even if you can, send a couple dollars. Like it ain't gonna hurt. Like we spend money on foolishness every day. Like this is something serious. Like God forbid if it was you. So I'm sorry, Uncle Bill, for interrupting you before you read that list. But I just want to let people know, like, enjoy your family members because you never know. One day our name might be on that list. Like it's real out here. So I just want y'all to know, don't just hear a name and be like, oh. That's definitely like embrace that name. Like, see what we can do. Search your soul. You know right, you do right. Like, search your soul to see what can we do collectively as communities, as whatever, as human beings pulling together. Say, look, they're not gonna keep finding our loved ones dead on the streets of Baltimore City. The police not gonna just keep killing us city to city. Like, all this stuff is connected. They're not gonna keep purging on us. Like, something needs to be done, or even to as though we going through so much of mental trauma that we got to give our brothers and sisters that are, doing community violence answers to where as though, hey, this could easily be alleviated. It doesn't have to result to bloodshed. To as though your family, is somebody, your family is mourning too, because now you might never see the streets again, or somebody might retaliate against you, or it's just sad. And then really sad for the family, loved ones that got murdered. So it's just a whole sad thing. So we gotta keep fighting, y'all. And go ahead, Uncle Bill and Brian, if y'all want here. Mic check.
Mike check. I just want to add the information you asked about. Paula Muhammad, who on many occasions sang and lifted our spirits at the West Wednesday rallies. The celebration of her life starts at 4 p.m., runs to 8 p.m., and it's at 401 North Howard Street, the Cultural Arts Center, 401 North Howard Street, starting at 4 p.m. this Saturday.
Thanks, Uncle. All right, so is Brian on here with the sad community list?
I'm doing that list tonight. He sent me the list. So for the homicide victims from the 2nd of May to the 8th of May, there's 10 of them, and these are the homicide victims from Baltimore. So to start the list off, we have George Hawkins, 41.
George Hawkins, 41.
We have Angelo Jones, 21.
Angelo Jones,
21.
Donnell Avery, 49.
Donnell Avery, 49.
Danny Henson, 31.
Danny Henson, 31.
Renee Jones, 34.
Renee Jones, 34.
Brittany Hayes Smith, 31.
Brittany Hayes Smith, 31.
Ephraim Gordon, 31.
Ephraim Gordon,
31.
Daquan Red, 22.
Laquan Red, 32.
Marvis Pollock, 39.
Marvis Pollock, 39.
And Rocky Swinde Nana, 27.
Rocky Swinde Nana, 27.
And that is the sad list of homicide victims from Baltimore City between the 2nd of May and the 8th of May. And I appreciate everyone lifting their names up.
And thank you, Marcellus, for reading that. And again, my heart and my prayers are with the family. And she said, and even because we sometimes the list be behind, even though he read 10, it could have been 17 this week. It's just horrible. It's terrible. Enough is enough. So my heart goes out. And then my heart even goes out to the family member of the one that was actually visiting here, like didn't live here, just here to visit, and you get murdered just on a visit. So again, my heart goes out. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Shall I go ahead with the police killings?
Yes, please.
Okay. First, I just want to mention there was a comment during the program, and they were asking for the details about Fowler's having studied forensic medicine in South Africa during apartheid. I found it on his LinkedIn account and did a screenshot. I think it's since been removed from his LinkedIn account because it's a little too real and too much of an embarrassment about his history in that racist society. But I can post that screenshot on my Facebook page. Bill Bleich is my name, Bleich. So you can look for it there. I'll try to remember to do that later this evening.
Yeah, I'll share it, Uncle Bill. So
Okay.
make sure you post it, guys, and friends of mine that might be inquiring. I will definitely make sure I share that as soon as it's available.
So I have the responsibility for reading the names of people who've been recently killed by the police, whose lives have been stolen. So I'm covering 5.5 days of the most recent list of people. It's starting on May the 4th. I say a half day because we reported on one death from May the 4th last week, and going through May the 9th. The first person, or give me just a moment, I have to get the list straight. Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Sorry, I had to make a few adjustments. The first person we announced last week was killed by police in Mesquite, Texas, but was unidentified. So they've now identified him. He was 27 years old. And if you could uphold his name after I say it, his name was Ashton Pinky.
Ashton Pinky.
By the way, I'll be reading the names of 10 people, although 3 of them have not had their names identified yet, but I'll announce the cities. And in this list of 10, there were 3 people killed by police on May the 8th, 3 people killed by police on May the 9th. Second person from Las Vegas, Nevada, was 49 years old. If you can uphold his name, please, William Holt.
William Holt.
On May the 7th, killed by police in Rutledge, Tennessee, 52 years old. Please uphold Robbie Leigh Hodge.
Robbie Leigh Hodge.
Killed by police in Clarksville, Tennessee, 54 years old. Please uphold Adonis Trauber.
Adonis Trauber.
The next person was killed by police in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and he has not yet been identified. I am sorry that we can't uphold his name. On May the 8th in Riverside, California, 34 years old, Felix Marquez.
Felix Marquez.
In Baltimore, Maryland, on May the 8th. And they don't give the age. Cigar, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. I think it's Gamiri. Cigar Jamiri.
Cigar Jamiri.
Killed by police in Greenville, South Carolina, the next day on May the 9th, 62 years old. Please uphold the name of Jeffrey Murray.
Jeffrey Murray.
On May the 9th in Lancaster, Texas, this victim whose life was stolen has not yet been identified, and I'm sorry we can't uphold his name. Again, on May the 9th in Leicester, Massachusetts, this person has not yet been identified either, and I apologize again that we can't uphold his name this evening. And that completes the list, which is probably not actually complete. This comes from the Washington Post, and I don't think they managed to report all of them. But that's the list for tonight. The problem of police brutality is 4 times more severe than the lynchings during the Jim Crow period. And we just want to bring home that awful reality so we can fight hard against it. Mike, check.
Mic check.
So I just want to say Ashe for the names that we don't know of yet, for the names that they don't want us to know yet. Like, they know the names, like, instantly. Let's be clear. When somebody, I mean, I know every now and then you might really have a Jane or a John Doe type of thing, but for the most part, especially with the foolishness that my eyes have seen, when they labeled my brother that had every type of identification on him, but the fact that he was driving my vehicle, y'all, my registration was in there. I even had left one of my cell phone, my business cards, all that glove department, but they labeled him too as a John Doe. So let's be clear, that's the game they play. And many moms, sisters, friends, when they hit that, each and every, I got at least 85 people that I know that they said, oh, at first they had my my loved one as a John Doe. Yeah, and I'm like, it's not coincidental. Like they know what they're doing. So again, my heart goes out for the ones that you don't know about. And it's sad that even with these lists, everybody like we ain't hear none of this on the news. And unfortunately, the media only lets us hear what they want us to hear. It's they're basically controlling our minds, controlling our thoughts, and they're keeping everything the way they want to. Just like now, everybody's so comfortable with the whole world opening back up, and no matter how much the numbers is, and I find it amazing and very interesting that I looked at when the pandemic started in 2021, when everybody was clutching their pearls and doing all type of things, when the numbers were way lower than what they are now. But because society and this capitalist world just gives us this, oh well, it's okay for us to have all these people dead and all these people, hospitalized. But yeah, we got the vaccine, it's okay. And they're like opening back up stuff. And it's okay, take your masks off, do this, do that. It's horrible. It's just horrible because I look at, and that's why I like to write things down from even food that I eat on Facebook, because it's like, and when you put it on social media, it's a trail. To me, I call that forensic thumbprint. You're leaving that trail back, because even if you forget, when you see your memories and you go back on, it'll show you memories from last year, up sometimes up to 7 to 10 years ago. You'll see all your memories on what you did on that particular day, and they even got these smartphones that I never programmed my phone to know when I took this trip and know when I did that, but it's all programmed. But I said all I have to say is just keep the people that you don't hear about, that they strategically make us not hear about them because they don't want us in an uproar. They don't want us. Like it's a lot of things that they want us to know, but it's a whole lot of stuff that they don't want us to know. Like anytime the way these people are getting murdered, like they sit back and talk. They know what's going on. Like you get a speed ticket camera for everything. You ain't even got. I drive slow as a snail, but yet I keep getting speed ticket cameras. But yet you got everything, all these cameras and all this sneaky stuff in the sky watching us, but y'all ain't solving no homicide. Y'all solve what y'all want to solve. Meanwhile, people getting gunned down in broad daylight and y'all ain't catching nobody. Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting that y'all got the list strategically to where as though it's not an accurate list. Like each week, I'm telling you guys, we are not giving you accuracy. We're giving you something that's pretty much delayed. Like we're giving you half of what half of the truth. Like I'm just gonna be real. Like we reading a list that, and I remember that one time Uncle Bill damn near read 42 names, but it's interesting and it's mind blowing to know that out of those 42 names, that there was probably way more names than that. But the way they have it, they'll slow it down so that way we can stay in order. The television, they keep us, in train, in tune. That's why we got to do our own research. We have to be our own conscious consumer. And Marcel, I want to check in. Did anybody make any more comments or have any questions or anything? Mic check.
Mic check. Uh, so um, so Johnny Action Seed commented again. Asking if people could share resources, kind of verifying that Fowler is from South Africa and from the apartheid era, which I provided him with some resources. But if others have any better resources, feel free to reply to his comment or share some of your resources. Um, and then Carice Haslam says there are several clips on YouTube of Dr. Fowler giving testimony in the Chauvin trial. He has a pronounced South African accent, kind of verifying that he is from apartheid South Africa.
Mm.
Mic check.
Mic check. And my brother Johnny, don't worry about it, because as soon as Uncle Bill, when we get off here, and Uncle Bill's going to send me that screenshot, and I'll make sure I send it directly to you. I'll send it to your phone or to your inbox, but I'll make sure you get that. Mic check. All right, so if we don't have any more, first of all, I want to give Uncle Bill and everybody that participated in May Days, different May Day events worldwide. I want to give everybody a big shout out. Baltimore definitely held it down. They were amazing. If you missed it, like you can actually go back and see it. I'm trying to figure out how can we see, because I know like we had a event page that you could actually watch it from, that to me kind of took away from actually sharing it live on somebody's page, but it was really amazing. And Marcellus, you really held it down, and y'all kept it moving like everybody that organized and planned. Y'all kept it rolling from videos to just the powerful speeches to everything. But it is real, like at the end of the day, we do live in a society that doesn't give a damn about us. It only cares about what we could do. And as far as money, like it's just sad. And I think now I'm really starting to see more and more that that's how they divide and conquer with the race. It's just about the money, and then they play everybody against each other. When at the end of the day, it boils down to this: we are all human beings. Like literally, we're getting killed and everybody hating on black and brown folks just because of a skin color, melanin in our skin. Like really, you hate us before we're born. You don't give us a chance. The people that you are killing could have been the people that could save somebody in your family life. Did you ever think about that? Or are you thinking of and looking at us as animals like they're trained, and they train, and the saddest part, the way racism is taught, it's something that's taught, y'all. This is a taught sickening behavior, because I remember, and I always go back to the story before I knew anything about skin color. My first best friend, and her name, and I'll shout it out loud and proud. Her name was Deborah Kelly. I'll never forget her. And I'm going back to pre-K, y'all. Pre-kindergarten, Deborah Kelly. And we met in pre-K. I remember crying back, crying for my mommy. And she came over and she gave me a hug and said, "Our mommies always come back." And I think about her to this day. Can't remember how she looked because that part is gone. But just to remember that name, Deborah Kelly, and knowing that we were in pre-K together, and the biggest hug she gave me and things like that, and she shared her cookies. I would bring like stuff out my lunchbox and I would share it with her type of thing. But I think about with my students, when I see them comforting each other, I think about when I had that moment with my best friend. But the part that when I'm saying about people are taught to be racist, I remember she wrote her number down for me to call her, and I wrote my number down. I couldn't wait to go home to ask my mom and my grandmother what was our phone number, and they wrote it. I'm like, my friend wanted, we want to talk, and I was like, okay, and they would actually dial. So I remember this one day, don't remember what day it was in, but I just remember being little, and I wanted to call because my best friend Debbie had bought me some chocolate chip cookies, and she surprised me, and I'll never forget, she snuck it inside of my lunch pack. So when I got home, I noticed it, and then she put a cute little smiley face on. We would just like do little smiley face stickers, or we would draw a smiley face, and I thought it was the sweetest thing as a little girl. And I'm like, oh my goodness! So I asked my grandma, I said, "Could you dial my friend number?" She said, "Okay," and she's like, "Okay, let me see what time it is." So my grandma real respect. She's like, "Well, okay, it's still early. It's not late. Okay, I'll dial." And she respectfully had me the phone and walked off. And I'll never forget, her racist grandfather answered the phone. I didn't know he was a racist. I had some. After I got off with him, I had questions to literally ask my grandmother. But when I called him, I'll never forget. And this conversation always plays back in my mind. And I'm like, "Hi, can I speak to Debbie?" And he was like, "Who's calling?" He was yelling, "Who's calling?" And I'm like, "Tawanda, Tawanda." And then he said, and I heard him say the N word, "Tawanda, you little something." And I'm like, "Huh?" So he called me the N word, and I'm like, "What's that?" And he was like, "Oh, well, you need to ask your mother what's that." And then he was like, "Well, she's in the bathroom brushing her teeth and not picking cotton." And he hung up on me, and I'm like, so I looked so puzzled. So I gave my grandma a call, and my grandmother knew something wasn't right. But I'm a little girl, like I'm around 4 or 5 years old. I'm wondering what the hell going on. So I said, "Grandma," she said, "You okay, Tawanda?" I said, "No, not really." I said, "I just want to ask you." I said, "What's a nigger?" And she's like, What you?" And my grandma, if I could still see the hurt, the frustration, the whole like, oh my God, like that was the reason we had to talk about race that day. Like little shit to set me on down on her lap, give me a hug, wipe my like she's ready to go off. Like my grandma was like, "Oh my God, like he said that to you?" Like, and I'm like, and she's like, he got like, until she told me to repeat. She said, "Tawanda, take your time. I know you upset. What did this person say to you?" Like, what did this evil man say to you? And I'm in my mind, I'm like, well, he's not evil. I said, he said that, Debbie was brushing her teeth, not picking cotton, and he hung up. And oh, my grandmother, like after that, I couldn't never, and it was sad because I could never call my best friend again. But my grandmother did something so sweet in my mind because we actually went up to they took me to school that day and they wrote a letter and they was like, once her family read this letter, and it wasn't nothing bad, but they was like, she might not want to be your friend no more, but they were saying that, and I was like, is this gonna be something in our friendship? They said no, we still wanted to be friends in school, but I wasn't able to call them because of that experience. My grandma didn't allow me to call her anymore, things like that. But we always still talk. But again, I'll say racist is like being a racist is something that is taught. That ain't like a baby don't come out the womb and say, "Oh, I hate this person because of their skin color." And it says, so if you're teaching your family members hate and instead of love, shame on you because we as human beings, no matter what race you are, we all go through something as human beings. We all go through something. But instead of teaching love, you teach hate, shame on you. And that's all I want to say. So, do we have any more questions or comments before I wrap up, Marcel?
We don't have any more questions. Well, actually, I missed some comments from YouTube. We have AC Brit, and AC Brit kind of talking about Fowler. He said he also spoke of his credentials during his testimony, and they put it in news stories. And then referring to the situation where the father called you the N word, AC Brit said that's effed up. And that's all of the comments that we have so far.
And I just want to give AC Brett like a comment back. Thank you for always sharing and being real and everything. And I just wanted that's why I was a little bit concerned. I'm like, our friend AC ain't saying anything this week. I was a little bit concerned.
Yeah, he's here. He commented a couple times on YouTube. It's just I had to scroll down to the top chat because it wasn't showing it.
Awesome. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay. Okay, AC. I should knew that was a real person. I love it. I love AC. AC, my people. Because I was actually thinking before I was actually thinking like, is that like her oldest son or something like that? I was just like in my mind thinking like, is this somebody related to her? Yeah, that's cool.
And Carice also said on Facebook, thank you for teaching love to Wanda. You make the world a better place.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Because at the end of the day, like children don't need to feel nothing less but love. Like if we give our babies anything less but love, then something's wrong with us. Like how can you not love a child? How can you not pour love into a child? Like or anybody, not even it don't just stop at babies. It go on to adults. Because if you look at how we are, like I look at like when we're born with babies, we're kind of helpless and all that kind of stuff. We grow with nourished off of love, and you go through your little adulthood, and then you wind up being the elderly, and then you get back to that cute stage where you back to wearing a pamper and things like that. And I always think about my grandmother and my auntie, which is her oldest daughter, my aunt Elma. Shout out to her, I love her to death. She takes excellent care of my grandmother. But I look at their little cute relationship, and it just reminds me of her. Like she's like kind of switching the roles, showing that love she got when she was a little baby. And I pray to God when I get in those days, if I ever make it that far, then my kids show me that kind of love as well. So love is a beautiful thing.
Yep. AC, she said she was taking her son to work. That's why there wasn't as many comments this time around as usual.
Okay.
But she's here and she's supporting the West Wednesday.
Awesome. All righty. Well, as usual, we definitely had a great conversation, and I really want y'all to take heed. So please, with all the information that Gretchen shared, that Hillary shared, and anybody that shared the links, Please, guys, all I'm asking for this, don't forget, please don't make this West Wednesday in vain. Please, 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 I need Lottie Dottie and everybody. Send in those emails. Please write those letters. Please, when I get the number, if you find the number, you can send it to me via Facebook. If you got my phone number, text it to me because I'm going to start sharing. Give them calls. They need to do a thorough investigation, reopen this thing, and prosecute these killer cops in cell blocks. And I hope if David Lewis and any of those killers, Louise, I hope if you're watching this right now, yeah, shaking those boots, baby, because I'm coming for you. I already told you from day one, not day two, day one, that you were not going to get away from murdering one unarmed man. Just like my cousin, my beautiful cousin, the sister of Tavon Anderson, Samaya, always said it from day one. And she said this as a teenager, y'all. And she's a grown woman 8 years later going on. But she said this as a teen. She said, you killed the wrong man, but you truly got the right family. And she never lied. She never lied. You definitely, truly got the right family that's going to make sure we walk you to accountability. Your day, sir, your day, ma'am, your day, madam, your days are coming. They're shortly coming. They numbered. But trust and believe me, they are coming. You're not going to get away with brutally executing my brother. And guess what? All the killers around the world that are murdering our loved ones, your day coming. Even if y'all don't get it served right here on earth, your day is coming. Because guess what? Karma is you know what? Karma is something else. Karma is something that you can't, what you put into the world, you get back. So guess what? Your days are coming. They are numbered one by one. That's why his story speaks for him or her. What is your story going to say when everything is finalized, when it's your day for your life of celebration, where everybody comes to say good things about what you did, what you didn't do? What is your day going to be like? What are people going to remember? What are you contributing to this world to where as though you could be looked upon and people be like, oh my goodness, that you touched them to the point that you're basically a legend now, that you're living, you're a legend. You're a legend. To where as though they will never forget you, never forget your story, history. That's something historic. You can never stop it. Nobody can rewrite your story, only you. And like I always say, till killer cops are in cell blocks. This last piece that my brother Ben is going to take us out with.
One sec, Tawanda.
Oh,
I
sorry.
apologize for interrupting, but Gretchen posted the phone number for the Attorney General, Brian Frosch. So I'd like to read that aloud if that's okay.
Oh, please do. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for watching.
Yeah. The number is 410-576-6300. One more time. The Attorney General, Brian Frosch, 410-576-6300. And if you're out of state, she also posted a toll-free number, so you can scroll back and see that in the comments. Mic check.
Mic check. Thank you, Uncle Bill, and thank you, Gretchen, for that very important number. Please, guys, make it your duty. Like, even if you could call on your lunch break or your TV watch or wherever, like whatever you're doing, just take, even if you can leave a message, make sure we are clear and we are saying you need to reopen Tyrone's West case immediately. Do not let David Fowler get away with murder. And if possible, David Fowler should be charged. He should be charged, y'all. This is a conscious conspiracy to obstruct justice. He knew exactly what he was doing. He should be charged. Not only should those killer cops be going in the cell block, they need to go and arrest David Fowler. They need to go and arrest Pamela Southall. They need to go and arrest these daggone people that are getting these killer cops off with murder. The same way if we did some type of conspiracy to cover up murder, guess what? We all going to jail. We know this. Why the hell they all not in the cell block? And speaking of cell block, this was a song that I made up for my brother that was brutally murdered And some of the names at the end that I'm reading off don't kind of match because at the time I was just freestyling. I didn't have like all the names. So as I'm saying the names, I wasn't looking at a piece of paper. So some of the names you might hear me say Eric Beasley or whatever and saying something else is because at that moment, that's what my mind and a lot of people was telling me so-called reliable sources that gave me their names. And I was just off the top of my head saying it. But like a few, I think it's like 2 or 3 of the names don't match up. But those are the animals that we know of. There was way more than that, but the ones that said, "Oh, I gave him a haymaker. Oh, I just hit him with a baton on the top of his head. Oh, I just kicked him with my boot. Oh, I just did this." And then also in the video of my cousin's video that we showed, the Ghost of Tyrone, the officer where it said David Lewis. Well, that was somebody that was not David Lewis. We found out because we were speculating because he kept always, every time we went to Morgan, he kept hiding his ID badge. And when one person asked him who was he made a smart remark and he told us he was David Lewis, which was a damn lie. So that person where you see in the video, and I wish I could go back and take that out the video and scratch out, but that person that was standing there in my cousin video, that was a person that lied and said his name was David Lewis. But maybe his name is David Lewis, but that's not that same 320-pound stinking animal that is almost 6'7" tall. This giant, this bastard that murdered my brother. That is not David Lewis in that video. So let's be clear. I want to clear that for the record. That was somebody that week after week they used to throw us off of Morgan campus, threaten to get us locked up. After we get the second threat, we knew the police was coming, so we roll off because we wasn't trying to go to jail. But he always lied and told us he was David Lewis. And like months after that video was made, somebody that really knew who David Lewis was like, hold up, that's David Lewis. And that picture that I put out to advertise the killer, where I showed Derek Chauvin's picture, and then I showed David, that's the real David Lewis. He's tall, gray haired person, might got a beard or who knows, but he has gray hair and he's tall. That person in that video is not the David Lewis that murdered my brother. So I want to be clear on that. That's not David Lewis. But moving forward, we're about to go out with my video called No Justice, No Peace. We in war with killer police. And that's the truth. I always said it. It's sad, but it's so true. There is no justice. It's just us. Cell blocks for killer cops. We can't stop. We won't stop till killer cops are in cell blocks. Thank you. I love you, West Coalition. I love you guys. I love all the supporters. Thank you guys for tuning in, for just always being there. We will. Until we win, we will get accountability. And we're not going anywhere until, like Mass Action always say, until we win. That's Mass Action slowly. Until we win, we ain't going nowhere. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
This goes out to my brother, Tyrone West. We've been fighting for justice for 2 years. It goes out for all the victims of police brutality. Eric Gardner, Freddie Gray, the list goes on. I'm gonna rock this off with my big brother. Since July the 18th, my whole life has changed, and nothing in my world will ever be the same. If those murderous killers knew what they did, they would've let us find artists and churchmen live. Knowledge and all this soul running on man gave me the courage to put this mic in my hand. Even through your death, we were so tight. I felt your pain when they took your life. No justice, no peace. We in a war with the killer police. No justice, no peace. We in a war with the killer police. From your steel-toe boots to your blue hats, the worst gang of police in the leader is Vance. I sent you off the chair and broke the leg. You look like Freddy Krueger and your name is Greg. When it comes to crooked cops, you are the softest to go for cover-ups in the ME's office. I won't stop, I can't stop until killer cops are in cell blocks. No justice, no peace. We in a war with the killer police. No justice, no peace. We in a war with the killer police. Stephanie Rollins Blake, I won't dare call you mad. You don't give a damn about the community or show that you care. With your fake smile, you a cover-up girl. You don't give a damn about nothing unless it's in your world. I won't stop, I can't stop until killer cops are in cell blocks. I won't stop, I can't can't stop until killer cops are in cell blocks. Your favorite song was and you don't even know it. Your whole life made a movement in the world starting to show it, cause you was a no limit soldier. I thought I told you God picked the king and he showed no justice, no peace. We in a war with the killer police. No justice, no peace. We in a war with the killer police. That's my life. We'll never be the same. I promise to put a lot of laws up under your name to put an end to police brutality. Stop the stereotypes while driving black in society. I won't stop, I can't stop until killer cops are in cell blocks. I won't stop, I can't stop until killer cops are in cell blocks. No justice, no peace. We in the war with the killer police. No justice, no peace. We in the war with the killer police. I won't stop, I can't stop until killer cops are in cell blocks. I won't stop, I can't stop until killer cops are in cell blocks. Hashtag Tyrone West, YouTube, Baltimore Black. And these killer cops belong in cell blocks. Horace, Omar Bernays Ruiz, Nicholas Davis Chapman, Matthew Coffey, Alex Hagatha, Eric Hilton, Danielle Angela Lewis, Derek Beasley, Latrice Nicole Lee, David Lewis. Y'all some animals. Y'all brutally murdered the wrong man, but y'all going down. I can't stop. I can't